Hi, I'm Pooja Girwarr. I'm 15 years old, and I've lived in Pennsburg, Pennsylvania my whole life. And honestly, I'm terrified right now, but yeah, that's okay. I've also never really done public speaking before, so I might as well start at the TED stage, right? I'm a pretty strong student, I'd like to think, but sometimes I feel like I'm looked at more than I feel like I'm looked at as a stat more than I am as a student. A 3.4 GPA, or number 67 in the 215 students in my sophomore class. Yet I love to learn, or at least I used to. I remember when I was a kid, I would do anything I could do to get into the school, whether it was waking up early and making my dad drop me off the same time my sister got dropped off, or tagging along to every class party my sister had, which probably annoyed the heck out of her, but hey, who cares, right? I even enrolled in a preschool early. But even after all that, I still wanted to learn what I thought was the magic of the world. Why was I getting taller? Why did my shadow follow me everywhere I went? And why didn't my sister have a coloring book with numbers in them? So, turns out I was getting taller because I was getting older. And my shadow was produced because my body was coming in between rays of light and a surface. And the coloring book my sister had with numbers was a textbook, and she sure got mad at me when she found me coloring in it. Over a decade of learning, I've started to fall a bit out of love with it. I used to not be able to sleep at night because I was so excited to go to school the next day. Now I can't sleep at night because I'm so stressed out by it. What happened to that feeling? Why am I no longer that little kid excited to learn? Well, that's what I'm going to try to figure out today. And I'm going to start at the beginning of it all, kindergarten. Kindergarten was a fun time. I don't remember much of it, though, but I remember feeling free, like I could be anything I wanted to be. But the details I remembered after kindergarten was when I started to feel discouraged in my learning. I remember in my classroom there was a bulletin board. And if you could count to 100 or remember your home phone number, your name was on that bulletin board. My name, it was never on it. And it made me feel dumb. I also remember I brought in my sister's Laura Ingalls Wilder book, and I told my teacher, I want to read this. But I was told it was too advanced for me. All my efforts to go above and beyond in the learning that I was learning then were shut down. By the end of my elementary years, I didn't feel like that little kid I did the first day I walked into kindergarten. Now middle school. As if everybody changing and growing and trying to figure out how to slow dance was hard enough, the curriculum was pretty hard for me too. I had no idea what was happening. I'm sure a lot of you here know that saying that there's no such thing as a stupid question, right? But how many of you here have asked a stupid question? Well, apparently, all the questions I asked in middle school were stupid. And in the fear of being told they were stupid, I stopped asking questions. I started to lose that curiosity I had because I didn't understand what was happening, and I just shut down. Now I'm in high school, and I have yet to come to school excited to learn. I think that true learning has been distorted. I'm being told, hey, prep for this test, memorize. Prep for this test, memorize. But to what end? But I also know I'm not the only person that feels this way. Many of my peers that I've spoken to about this feel the same way too, and a lot of my teachers feel the same way. According to Washington Post, 80% of teens say that the number one cause for stress in their life was school. I think that we all, students and teachers, have lost that passion we once had, whether it was to start learning or to start teaching. But I also believe that we can find it again. How? I came up with 3 things to resurrect that little kid inside of us all. The first is to embrace failure. Had I known that my name not being on that bulletin board was supposed to encourage me to go home and learn how to count to 100, I would have felt inspired rather than discouraged. So teaching that failure is okay will stop kids from making them feel discouraged. A lot of us here know who Babe Ruth is. Okay, So Babe Ruth was an amazing hitter. He had a career record of 714 home runs and 2,873 hits. But even though he was a successful hitter, he also struck out 1,330 times. That's because Ruth swung without the fear of striking out. He even said strikes bring him closer to a home run. If we try to avoid failure, we'll also avoid the success that's going to come with it. The second is to recognize ambiguity as an amazing opportunity. I was so confused in middle school that I just shut down completely. We need to be comfortable in midst of chaos because those moments of confusion is where we get our great ideas. It's okay to know that things work without knowing the reason why. The third is to embrace the fact that there's usually more than one right answer. For me, the idea of right and wrong answers is too simplistic. We all know in math that 2 + 2 = 4, but there's more than one way to get 4. You can do 4 times 1, 8 divided by 2, and 3 plus 1. That right versus wrong idea pervades our society, and that's the exact opposite way we should be thinking, to be thinking creatively. And I also think that since people think there's only one answer, we think that things are the way they are, and that it'll never change. But hey, if Aristotle never argued that the world was round, we'd still probably believe that the world was flat. And if Edward Jenner never sat down to think about why people who had cowpox didn't catch smallpox, then we wouldn't have vaccinations. It's not okay that we reduce these kids and teachers into stats by their 12th grade year of learning. We need to stop fearing failure and ambiguity. We need to give people a voice to express themselves without the fear of being judged. And we also need to know that things aren't the way they are and it'll change, because all this does is set us up to go absolutely nowhere. And that's an awful place to end up, especially after working so hard to get there. Thank you, and I hope that we can all become that little kid excited to learn again. Thank you.